Well, Razor, as I have advanced in my age, meaning getting older, I get like acid reflux more and more. I get that, that chest pain. It's awful because I'm an eater. You know that. I'm an eater. I enjoy my beverages, but not as much as I love my food. But I eat foods that I shouldn't probably always eat because I love them so much, and it leads to pain sometimes, okay? And I got to do something about it. I got to fix it, but I haven't been able to fix it. Where am I going with all this? I'm going to where the Boston Bruins, we welcome you into Morning Bru with Jaffe and Razor. It's kind of like they're doing what I do with my acid reflux. As they give up another lead in the third period, this time a 2-goal lead to the Vancouver Canucks and lose in overtime when they have an opportunity to close it out. They're down 6-on-5 or 5-on-6, whatever you want to call it, late in the game. They give up another goal. Vancouver goes on to win it in overtime. Their acid reflux is the 5-on-6 at the end of the game. That's what it is. And they need to take care of it. They need to fix it. And we're going to discuss it. Welcome into Morning Bru with Jaffe and Razor, brought to you by Berkshire Bank. This episode is made possible by Sparks, Apex, the Omni Hotel Boston at the Seaport. And also we're going to talk about Bruins Authentics, all right? Because Bruins Authentics are important right now. They got some great stuff going on. Razor. All right, you've heard my issues, my physical ailments. You know that I don't help myself in that regard. What are the Bruins going to do to help themselves? Boy, was that a long, winding open. Welcome in, buddy.
It's a good open. I like the open. I think it's actually a pretty good metaphor for what's ailing the Bruins.
It's also, by the way, they're losing games like that is causing me even more.
Yeah, that's the ironic. Now we're using more words that probably aren't making sense, but the irony of that is, you're going to stay up an extra 25 minutes with that acid reflux tonight because of them choking it up. It deserves a big deep dive, dig down deep. What it is it because this is why they didn't win the first round. We can dig into a bunch of different reasons and what happened and the goalie no, it was 50 seconds away, and they were the best team in the National Hockey League of all time up until that point, and they had 50 seconds left and they couldn't close out. That's it. Like that's it. And now it's this season, and it's happened enough that it's a big issue. They haven't. It's either they score an empty net or they give one up. I don't remember too many games where they've just finished the game 6-on-5 and won by 1 goal.
My memory sucks, but I'm with you. Meaning, I don't have that kind of recall quickly.
I don't remember them like the pucks are like the Philly game, the Philly Rangers game this afternoon. Right, we're watching the end of it here at the studio before we go on. Rangers win. They didn't score an empty net. They just kept it out of their goal for the last minute while Philly was pressing. They hit a post at the end, and everyone gets to celebrate. I don't remember the Bruins doing that very often at all this season, if more than 2-3 times max. So that's the issue. That it's an issue. You talked about in the post game. You have to win 2 or 3 of these games in the postseason.
Right.
Every series you have to win with an empty net. You have to score an empty net, or you have to hold them off and not take a penalty. So the 6-on-5 is more of an issue for me than the leads. Okay, so like we're saying it was a 2-goal lead. We're saying the other day it was a 3-goal lead. The hockey that's being played in the NHL right now, those leads are happening a lot, and they're getting lost a lot, right? But the 6-on-5, that shouldn't happen as often as it does to this team.
All right.
I think it's 2 separate things. Is that fair? I think that to complain about 6-on-5 is one thing. To complain about them giving up leads is another, because I think it's pretty systemic in the NHL.
One's a mindset, I think. You're right, it is. It's happening more and more in the league.
It really is.
The league, the style of hockey encourages these type of comebacks.
Yeah.
That's what the league wants.
And at least getting close, right?
Right.
Or
the league wants it to be close, right?
Yeah.
They want it to be exciting. And by the way, I don't blame them.
It is better.
It's fun.
It's a better
right.
product. It is.
It's a system it's an execution problem with the 6-on-5.
Correct.
And so we've seen it now. And just to give some numbers, and you know me, I'm not, anyways, I'll give some numbers here. The Bruins, when leading after 2, are now 25-1-7. They've lost 8 times. Just to give you a little compare and contrast, the Vancouver Canucks now, when leading after 2, are 32-1-2.
Yeah. No, 7's a lot.
That's a lot of games to lose in that extra time.
Yeah.
It's a lot, man.
No, I know. It is.
Like 3's good. 4 would be too much. It would be just okay and enough. 7 is too much.
Well, that's the other thing that happens too, because I kind of did some math in the studio while I was doing it, because now these overtime losses are getting to a point where there's so many of them. Now let's back it. Okay, how many times have they lost? Let's just say that they've lost, right? So now I do the numbers, and they're 7th in the NHL in losses.
Right.
When you add over, like, that's where we're at the point where, okay, enough of the overtime stuff. Like, how many losses do they have? They're 34-25.
Right.
The New York Rangers are 39-19. That's the best record in the NHL.
Right.
And there's 6 other teams that have less losses than the Boston Bruins do now in the NHL.
Yeah.
So that's, it's kind of middling.
And one of those teams is the Toronto Maple Leafs.
That's right. They have 24.
They have 24.
Yeah, that's right.
The reason I bring that up is because the Bruins, and the Florida Panthers and Toronto Maple Leafs are battling for that first, second, third. I think, I shouldn't say I don't think Toronto can win the division, but you never know. But the way Toronto's playing, what have they won? 7 in a row now?
7 in a row.
7 in a row. They beat Colorado.
First time in like 20 years.
Tyler Bertuzzi hat trick. Florida continues to do well, and the Bruins are scuffling. They're scuffling. This is so interesting, and I don't mean that in a positive way. How different. We sat down and talked after the Calgary game. We were both exhausted there late at night. But you know what? We called that a good point. We called it a good game. Meaning, we weren't okay like, oh, jolly whiz, it's okay. But, okay, they had chances in overtime. They played a really good second and third, and we were both okay with it. I'm not going to speak for you this second. I'll speak for me this second. I don't feel okay with this tonight, Razor. I don't. And I just think they've got to make some changes. This was a bad loss, in my opinion.
Yeah. So the hard part for me is the fact that they still have the second most points in the NHL, right? Like it's really, really hard to.
But can't you separate that from a good and bad loss?
Well, yes, but to a point. But I think but between the giving up the leads, the 6-on-5, and then complaining about the only point they got against the other great team that they played tonight. It feel like at some point we have to stop piling on. I guess that's my only thing. Like, I feel like, because again, it's like the whole thing. But
if it wasn't for Swayman, do they get this point?
Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe they should have went down 2-1 and then come back. Like, is it better if they had to come back from 2-0 all the time, right? Like, if they were that comeback, whatever it is, it doesn't feel as good because they didn't play as well.
Exactly.
They played that well actually the first 2 periods, or at least the second period. I thought they played pretty well at times. But no, I guess overall they played better against Calgary, so that's why we felt better about it, because they really did have a lot of opportunities. They didn't make a bonehead play in overtime. I think the other thing that's wearing on everybody is the bonehead plays in overtime.
Yes.
Because it's not like if they lose like they did against Calgary in overtime, it's like, that was a great overtime. They hit a post, they had a chance, went back the other way. This is, again, another bonehead opportunity in overtime. You're
talking about too many men
on the ice. So it's a self-inflicted wound again in overtime, and I think that's wearing on us a little bit too.
I think that's a very good point, because you're like, okay, fine, you get to overtime, figure it out, have a great overtime, and then that happens. You're like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? And I know that there's guys that change a little bit long and over. That was a blatant too many men on the ice.
Yeah.
Blatant too many men on the ice. We're not sitting on the bench. We can't hear who's calling stuff out. We have no idea if DeBrusk was given a go or change, or we don't know. But Marchand was he 20 feet away?
Yeah, he was too far.
Too far away. And Jake, the puck comes to the area where Jake is.
And he didn't need to because there was support. All that pass would have been was a one-on-one.
Right. There were three guys
it's one thing if you jump like, oh, I panicked because I saw he was on a breakaway, like maybe I'll get it, but that wasn't the case either. So it's just that's adding to it as well.
So the lost lead stinks, no question, stinks, hurts. Is it just as simple as when they're down a man, end of the game, killing it off, that they got to be more aggressive? I think it is. I think they have got. Coach Jim Montgomery talked about it last year about wanting to be more aggressive. We've heard it this year too that they need to be, and yet I felt they're still too stationary. Unleash the hounds. Just go. Just go. They were caught in between everywhere on this 6-on-5 Razor.
Yeah, it's funny because when I coach the goalies or even my kids, right? When you want to make a change, right? You have to make a change. You're not doing something correct. Make a big adjustment.
Yeah.
If it's a habit, you can't make a small adjustment. You won't be able to catch enough of it. Make a big adjustment, and that's what this team needs to do on that 6-on-5.
What's the one thing you though need for that big adjustment for it to work? In my opinion, practice. You have to practice it. I know they're NHLers. I get that. They're the best in the freaking world. I get that. You still need repetitiveness, repeat performance of it. And this is where, I don't know when they're going to have the time to do it in practice. They actually have a chunk of time in April, believe it or not, like a 5-day break. That's too late. They need to get it in soon. They need to start doing it because if you watch this 6-on-5, they were just too passive again.
And again, and
losing faceoffs.
Well, that's it. And I wonder, if I'm a Bruins coach, I'm probably going over the tape because these guys have the easiest access in the world of videos. I'd want to know every empty net goal I've given up in the since Game 7. I want to see off the faceoff. It might be as simple as what are the routes when you lose a faceoff in 6-on-5? Like where is everybody going, and are you putting yourself in the it just like all of these things have to be dissected. It really does because to your point, the fault to all of these goals is passiveness. Mm-hmm. All of them. All the big ones I remember. Anyways, Game 7, 100% is passiveness. They had 5 guys sitting in the slot.
Right.
And they had everybody shooting from the outside. So go. And that's it. If you go and you give up a seam pass back door, I think the goaltenders are at that point are dying for that too. Like, let me make a save.
Right.
Because
otherwise you're letting everybody get to the front of the net.
Yeah, I can't see it. I can't force it. It's a rebound. I can't make plays. At least give me a chance to make a huge save.
I mentioned faceoffs. They were 28 wins, 41 losses. They were 11-32 in the D zone.
Yeah, that's bad.
30%, 32 or 34% in the D zone. Is that where, look, you miss David and Patrice anywhere, right? But we're starting to see it. Yet, listen, Coyle, you get my Charlies mixed up. Coyle and Zacha overall, Razor, are in the 50-51% range. I was just looking up some numbers, 51, 52, whatever. But end of game, you need something. You really do. You need something. You need a right guy and a left guy that can absolutely bear down and at the very least tie it up. They're losing them blatantly all third and in overtime.
And they need the numbers point that out very, very evidently tonight. And you need to at least make it contested.
Right.
It can't go straight back. It just can't go straight back. And that's really when you get in trouble because then separation happens instantly and you can never really get the gap that you need back or the opportunity to battle pucks out.
Now, you were a goalie.
Or block shots. When have we seen a block shot?
They don't. It's funny. They don't seem to try and block the shots on the 6-on-5. It's just kind of like they're not pressuring. They're just pushing a little bit. We're going to just keep you enough to the outside, protect the middle, which I get wanting to protect the middle, but there has to be a desperation element to it. There has to be.
Yeah.
I'm
just thinking the Toronto one. Matthews, same thing. Matthews scored 6-on-5 in Toronto. Like, who else is going to score that? Matthew. Like, someone should be there.
Puck comes to him.
Yeah.
Tackle him. Tackle him.
Yeah. No one in the lane. Yeah.
All right. So this is something, listen, I know you're a goalie, so it is different, but you've talked to enough and hung out with enough players. Does this start getting in their heads? Or is this something that just us media folk and fan folk talk about? Or is this something that starts getting in a player's head? Here's another opportunity to be down a man with a minute and a half left. We're not great at it.
I think the face-off stuff can get in guys' head for sure. That's an individual thing. You'll have confidence or not have confidence in certain situations. I think the 6-on-5 thing, yes. I don't think the lead thing's, I don't think that's in their heads. Again, they're going to go, listen, you're going to lean back and say, we have 81 points. That's what a player is going to do. They're going to recognize that it's really hard to win games, that it's really hard to close out, but we have 81 points and 30 other teams would love to have 81 points. That 6-on-5 stuff you can start asking questions. You're going to ask each other questions. You're going to ask coaches questions. What are we doing wrong? Why is this happening? Where are these coming from? And I suppose as that goes on, it can get in your head a little bit. But I think it's a scenario where you also, as a player, know that the odds are in your favor or should be in your favor. And if you can clean it up a little bit, they shouldn't score on you as much as they are right now.
By the way, the Bruins are now tied for second most 6-on-5 goals allowed. Vegas and Montreal share the lead with 8. Columbus and Boston have 7.
Yeah, so there you go with Vegas, right? You would consider Vegas an elite defensive team that just won a Stanley Cup and knows how to shut games down, and they have 8. So again, that would be the devil's advocate or a player's side where they would be, this is doing it too, Obviously, Montreal and Columbus, you would expect them there. Interesting that it's Vegas and Boston. Yeah. Really, really interesting.
By the way, the Bruins see Vegas in a couple of games for a quick stop at home.
They'll both get 6-on-5
Vegas
opportunities.
Right, yeah. And each will score.
6-on-5.
And we'll go to overtime again.
Maybe they do practice. Maybe they'll set
controlled scrimmage.
Bruce and Monty will set up a controlled scrimmage in the Garden. Maybe pregame skate will be a controlled 6-on-5 scrimmage.
What was the Apex most entertaining moment of this game? Was it
Boquist, right?
Yeah, Boquist goal.
Yeah.
I mean, we loved the Heinen goal from its simplicity.
Yeah.
But the Boquist goal was pretty exciting. Maybe the glove save that Swayman made. Who did he challenge it? Was it Hronek he came out on?
Miller, wasn't it?
Miller? The slap shot? Yeah, the clapper. Yeah. Okay. So, all right, Apex Entertainment in Marlborough, where you're always going to be entertained. 100,000 square foot of fun brings you the Apex most entertaining moment of the game, and we'll call it the Jesper Boquist goal, assisted by Mr. Brazer himself, Justin Brazeau. We will talk about that in a moment. All right, so we both agree on that. Let me tell you about Bruins Authentics. It's the official game-worn, team-issued, and team stock memorabilia of the Boston Bruins. Go check out these great items, folks. They come straight from the locker room, off the ice, and you can own a piece of the action. Every item is fully authenticated. And learn more and sign up for Authentics newsletter at BruinsAuthentics.com. Be the first to hear about the latest memorabilia drops. This includes sticks, gloves, skates, everything, pucks, etc. Go check it out, BruinsAuthentics.com. You want to be on that list. Sparks Hockey. Sparks Hockey is the place to go if you want to get a great at-home sharpener. Every NHL team has them now, Razor. Every single one. Sparks Hockey has great specials online. You can also use the code Morning Bru, get $50 off. SparksHockey.com, the place to go to check it out. You can get all different types of wheels, radius, etc. They'll teach you how to use the machine, even though it's the simplest thing around. I got the Generation 2 one, and they have backpacks for it now. So you can carry it around with you easily. Simple. Take it to tournaments, take it to events, take it wherever you want. Take it to your office. I don't care. Sharpen your skates there. It's great. SparksHockey.com. And finally, if you need to get away, and who doesn't need to get away?
6-on. But some guys need to get away tonight.
Well, they should go to the Omni Boston Hotel at the Seaport. They should. Although I'm sure they're staying at a beautiful hotel in Vancouver tonight. But if the Omni Boston Hotel at the Seaport was, I tell you what, Vancouver's such a beautiful city, just like Boston on the water. That's the kind of hotel you want to stay at.
Yep.
Because you're a great location. You can walk anywhere. The Seaport is hot, happening. So many great restaurants at the hotel. and in the area. You've got live music in the area. You've also got the sporting club there, so you can watch live sports there. It is the preferred place for all Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor fans, listeners to go to. Watch a Bruins game, watch other hockey games, watch whatever. Watch a Celtics game, watch a football game in season. Check out the website there for the Omni Hotel at Boston Seaport, and use the code PROBRU, PROBRU, get 15% off the best listed available price there on their website. They are an absolutely gorgeous hotel. They are wonderful people. Go check that out. All right. With regard to Jeremy Swayman and Linus Ullmark, a lot of chatter lately. Last, 2 days now? And I mean, this is that silly season type thing and everything.
Yeah.
Have you changed at all with regard to, maybe you consider it, or you're like, no, keep both goalies, all the way. And I am. That's where I am still, right? Because I don't think you get anywhere near the value that you would want. And I still don't completely know if either of these goalies on an individual basis is going to be ready to lead your team through the long haul.
Yeah.
Yet.
No, and I think you can debate that till the cows come home, right? The old saying. You could debate all of those other things. I think for me, at least until we see another deal, some other deal other than a Canadian team dealing a player to another Canadian team, until we see any of that, there is no doubt that the value that Linus Ullmark provides to the Boston Bruins right now is more than what any other team is willing to pay for. Mm-hmm. There's no question for me to that, because a team like the New Jersey Devils need a goalie so badly if they want to actually make the playoffs, but they're not trading for anybody. They're not trying to go for anybody because it feels like they don't want to give up an asset for a goaltender. Right. So I think this idea of, because the only time we hear this goalie talk and trading Ullmark is, the Bruins need a top 6 forward, right, or the Bruins need a top 4 defenseman. Right. And it seriously sounds like people think that you're going to trade Ullmark for a top 6 forward. Right. It's not happening, folks. That's not the market. That's not the value. Right. That's not what the value is for a goaltender. There's 10 of these guys out there, and you're not getting a top 6 or a top 3 centerman. I think you get more value in the offseason for a goalie. You get a full season with that goalie. Yeah. The goalie gets used to your system, your style. The goalie becomes established in your team. And that goalie isn't as valuable to you in the summer. Right. Because you can make other moves to get the goalie and have your tandem set up. Right now, again, just back into the whole, you pull the trigger on trading Linus Ullmark for a second-round pick, right? A second-round pick, which is probably what a goalie is worth at this point right now. You might, maybe. Who got traded for? Was it Ryan Miller when he got traded for a first? So, but I'm going back how many years now? That's right, 10 years exactly. And it was Ryan Miller, and the St. Louis Blues traded for him because they really thought they were desperate, and they thought they were going to win a cup. So even if it's a first rounder, I'll give you a first rounder, and you trade him, and Jeremy Swayman goes down with a hamstring injury the day after you make that trade. How do you look as a team, as an organization, as a general man? Like, that deal is a nightmare. Right. And so those are just two scenarios where that's why, among everything else, logically it just doesn't seem like it's not happening. No, I agree. If you were a guy in the locker room and a kid by the name of Justin Brazeau walked in, what would his nickname be? Oh, it's Brazzer for sure. Brazzers. Yes. Brazzers. Yes, no question about it. Listen, he's hot right now. He's hot. He's done 3 games. He's been involved in 4 5-on-5 goals. He couldn't play in the last game. Folks, I'm sure you've heard about it now. He didn't play. In fact, he wasn't technically, he wasn't literally on the roster because he had to be sent down for the day. He was in fantasy camp. Exactly. He got the per diem, though. Yeah. He had to because the Bruins wanted to bring up an extra defenseman, Ian Mitchell, because they didn't know the status of Matt Grizzly, who, by the way, did play in this game against the Vancouver Canucks. He thankfully seemed to be okay. I don't know. We don't know what it is. Must have been a foot injury of some kind, but he was okay after a couple of days up. All right. But now Brazeau gets back in the lineup. Brazeau absolutely belonged on that fourth line again. This game, Jim Montgomery and his coaching staff mixed up the lines a bit differently.
And the fourth line this time was Richard on the left, Boqvist in the middle, and then Brazeau on the right. They were their best line.
Yep.
Boqvist didn't play 10 minutes, just under. The other guys did play 10, 11 minutes each. They were their best line as far as consistency with puck placement, puck control, opportunity. They do get the one goal off a nice play in the neutral zone by both Boqvist and by Brazeau, who ends up getting the puck, taking it down the right side, using his long reach to get it around Quinn Hughes from, what was it, about the top of the circles, where he made the pass over to Boqvist, who then deked out the goaltender Thatcher Demko to the blocker side, so to Boqvist's left. But let's just start. We did talk about Justin last show a bit, or 2 shows ago, I guess it was. But you're rooting for him because of the age and the story, right? Just finally signing his first contract. But B, you're saying, you being an outside observer like we are, like, holy smokes, like, very early still. But this guy's understanding of space and where to go without the puck, pretty damn good. And then you add that to 6'5", 220 pounds. It's interesting.
That's why I'm rooting for him.
It's interesting.
It just starts and ends for my rootness is 6'5", 220, 230, whatever he is. 6'5" is something this group needs, especially up front. And we've said it a lot. It doesn't even affect me that he's not a bruiser or doesn't going to go out and be really physical. It just needs a little more length, a little more size. And so it starts there for me. That's why I'm rooting for him. And then watching him, his hockey sense is very good. You see how he could score 113 points in junior hockey because he's smart enough and he gets to a spot. He doesn't have blazing speed. He doesn't have a blazing shot, but he just understands the game and the nuance of it around the nets. And we've seen that in the short, small sample size here with the Bruins. We all know it's about consistency and doing this over a longer stretch of time. But I love the fact the Bruins can call these 3 guys up from the minors and have them play and have them really serve a role this quickly and gel together. And usually we say, the fourth line's their best line, and it's kind of relative to what, but today they're actually putting points on the board too.
Yeah. It
wasn't just that they were good, but Pasta had 4 points. They were good and they were the only ones that scored. So that is a huge boost for them and just goes to their ability to gain energy from each other, but play the right way with speed and some size.
Would you agree that you would almost work from the bottom up as far as ranking the line's effectiveness in this game?
Yeah.
Boqvist's line was really good. The Geeky line was pretty good. Yes, they scored the goal, Heinen, that is, but they were all pretty good, right? And then I'll call it Zaka, the next one, whatever. It's you can say Zaka.
The power play was 0 for 4.
I still have that marked down here. I was about to say.
So, we haven't even brushed that.
No, and there were changes made to the power play that I really wasn't sure of before the game. I really wasn't.
Yeah.
Different bodies put up there.
And I would have loved to have seen them go back to Zaka and Van Riemsdyk at the start of the third when Marshy goes down 18-30, 1.5 minutes in. Like, that's go time. Finish this thing off.
Right.
3-0. That's a whole nother ball game. And they continue to tinker with it. And it didn't make.
Well, the first power play when it was those Geeky and DeBrusque that got put into the first unit, it never gelled. It never. So I know 4-on-3 is different than 5-on-4, but again, look at the way that Vancouver got the puck. Yes, they won the faceoff. That's the first thing. But they move it so quickly that they never give the defense a chance to really set up where they want to. And they never feel comfortable. The Bruins lately on the power play have allowed the defense, the penalty killers, to be comfortable.
Yep.
Because some of their passes have not been anywhere near accurate. They played too much along the wall with their back turned instead of facing the net. And it's amazing given us some of the great talent they have. So what was the power play now? 0 for 4 in this game?
0 for 4 tonight.
So now in their last 9 games, 2 for 27.
Yeah. And these are all one goal. These are overtime games. These are shootout games.
Right.
So the power play goal makes a difference. That's the game changer at certain times. And that's that falls on the same guys that are playing the 6-on-5.
Yeah.
Right? So it goes to the top of the roster here where this team's at and how they have to pick things up a little bit.
Yeah, they do. They do. It's obvious they do. Well, so the upcoming schedule is Monday in Seattle.
Who are getting pounded 5-1 right now.
Really?
Yeah, by Minnesota.
How about Minnesota lately?
I know. They're just scoring goals and taking names and moving up the standings.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy what Minnesota's doing. I mean, Matt Boldy, Mass native, has been he's been really good lately. Yeah. He is a natural, man.
Yeah,
he is. He's a hell of a player. And he'll be a leader on that team, if not already, but very, very soon. So the Bruins have the day off tomorrow. They will travel the very short ride from Vancouver to Seattle midday, and then they will play the Kraken on Monday night. They will travel back to Boston on Tuesday, a full travel day, have practice Wednesday, and then play the Vegas Golden Knights on Thursday at home before hitting the road. Razor, you and I will do our next Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor after the Vegas game. Okay? Now, if something comes up in between now and then, we can sit down and do a quick episode, no doubt about it. I don't think we'll be able to get a player interview scheduled, but, we can always ask. Can't hurt for Wednesday. But regardless, the next scheduled show, folks, is Thursday night after the Vegas game. So we will be back with you then. Listen, I think that there's not, I don't want to sit here and say, well, at least they got a point. It's just that for this game, it goes without saying. Okay, fine, whatever. The big issue here, they got to figure out a way how to finish the game. They have to, how to close it out. They have to. Mindset, man, structure, system. They got to figure it out. We got anything else you want to touch on before we go? Lowry, pretty good again. He's been up. We talked about him the other day. What else? Anything else?
Yeah, D were fine tonight, 5-on-5. Like, they played a pretty good 5-on-5 game.
Good start to the period. First period, fresh to the first, but a really good start.
Yeah.
Second period was pretty good.
Yeah.
And they had some good shifts a little in the third, but then
just sat back.
Way too much time in their own zone.
And Swayman kept it to being a 6-on-5 game, and now we have to deal with 6-on-5 for a little while. We really do have to start marking these off and figuring out when they've been affected or when they're going to be effective going forward. So it's something I'm going to focus on. All
right, we'll take a look at that. All right, that's going to wrap it this Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. Thank you, as always, for listening, folks. Thank you to Berkshire Bank, Sparks, Apex, and the Omni Hotel. All right, Razor and I'll be back with you in a couple of days. In the meantime, keep having some cups of coffee. But listen, don't have too many cups of coffee. It comes from somebody who speaks from experience. It does create a little too much agita, a little too much acid reflux. But hey, if you can handle it, have yourself an extra cup.